What if you lost everything tomorrow? Your home, your savings, your future, and the system designed to protect you was the very thing destroying you. This isn't a dystopian movie. It's the American story that was so controversial, the government called it propaganda, and people burned it in the streets. It begins in the 1930s, with the land of Oklahoma turning to a fine, choking powder. For thousands of tenant farmers, their world, built on the rhythms of cotton and corn, was literally turning to ash. This is the landscape of John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, a novel so unflinching that it has been both banned and celebrated, because it tells a story not just of despair, but of the fierce, unyielding resilience of the human heart. The dust was an invader. It crept through cracks in the doors, under the windowsills, settling in a fine film over plates on the table and blankets on the beds. Women would watch it settle, their faces grim, and fight it with wet rags, a hopeless war against an enemy made of their own topsoil. The sky, once a brilliant blue, became a permanent, hazy brown, the sun a pale, sickly disk. Children coughed a dry, hacking cough, their lungs filling with the very earth that was supposed to feed them. This wasn't just a drought, it was an inversion of nature, a world turning on itself. Into this dying world walks Tom Joad, freshly paroled from McAlester State Penitentiary after a 4-year sentence for homicide. His first instinct is for home. His parole is a fragile thing, a leash that forbids him from leaving the state, but all he can think of is the smell of his mother's cooking and the familiar weight of a tool in his hand. He is a man of simple needs and a direct, sometimes violent, code of honor. He isn't looking for trouble. In fact, he spent 4 years learning how to avoid it. But the world he returns to is alien. The farm is a ghost. The house, a weathered box of memories, has been pushed clean off its foundations, its windows like vacant eyes. The silence is the most unnerving part. No chickens, no dogs, no hum of life. It's here, in the ruins of his past, that he finds Jim Casey, the former preacher. Casey sits in the dust, a man hollowed out by his own thoughts. He'd been a fiery baptizer, a man who roared about sin and salvation, but he'd lost the spirit, plagued by the hypocrisy of his own desires. He quit the pulpit to wander and think, and he's arrived at a new kind of faith, one not found in Scripture, but in the connections between people, a shared human holiness he can't yet name. From a Muley Graves, a neighbor half mad with grief and stubbornness who refused to leave, Tom learns the truth. His family, the entire Joad clan, has been tracted out. They were caught in a great, invisible machine. This wasn't an evil man in a black hat who rode in and stole their land. It was worse. It was a line on a ledger in an office hundreds of miles away. It was a bank, a company, a monster that breathed profits and ate interest. And the final instrument of their removal was a massive, diesel-powered tractor driven by a neighbor, Joe Davis's boy, for $3 a day. He sat on the iron seat, his face hidden by goggles, and erased their world, the fence Tom's father had built, the porch where he'd been born, the well they had dug by hand without a soul or a second thought. This is the chilling reality of the monster. It turns men against each other, making them cogs in a machine that will eventually crush them too. It's a feeling of being crushed by a system too big to fight that is just as real in 2025 as it was then. When Tom finally finds his family at his Uncle John's house, the reunion is a burst of raw emotion. Ma Joad, the citadel of the family, sees him, and her face, etched with worry, momentarily softens. She is the quiet, undisputed authority, her decisions guided by a single fierce principle, keeping the family together. Pa is there, a good, hard-working man whose authority has been broken along with his connection to the land. Rose of Sharon, Tom's sister, is young, pregnant, and her head is full of naive dreams of the life she and her husband, Connie, will have in California, a life she's seen in magazines. They are a dozen souls, a clan held together by blood, about to be thrown onto the highway. Their past has been bulldozed. Their only map is a flimsy piece of paper. It was that single piece of paper, a handbill, that offered them salvation. A bright orange flyer, promising good wages for picking fruit in the sunshine of a distant paradise called California. It was a tangible dream, something to hold on to when everything else had turned to dust. The decision is made out of a lack of any other. The family pools its meager resources. The process of selling out is a ritual of humiliation. Everything they own, the physical legacy of generations of labor, is laid out in the yard for buyers to pick over. A team of mules, once the pride of the farm, is sold for a pittance. Tools, furniture, household goods, all go for pennies on the dollar to sharp-eyed opportunists who know the sellers are desperate. The final sum is $154, a painfully small amount to carry a family of 12 across a continent and into a new life. This money is immediately used to purchase their vessel, a 1926 Hudson Super 6 sedan, its long hood and high cab already a relic, now crudely converted into a truck. It's a heap of rattling metal, its engine tired, its tires worn thin, but it becomes the Jode's entire world. They build a frame over the back, a rickety skeleton upon which they will pile their mattresses, their pots and pans, their water buckets, and themselves. The truck is more than a vehicle. It's a mechanical beast of burden, a rolling home, a fragile symbol of their collective hope. Perhaps the most powerful moment of this departure belongs to Ma Jode. In a quiet, solitary scene, she sits on the ground and goes through a small wooden box of keepsakes. These are not things of monetary value, but of immense personal history. A pair of earrings from her mother, a newspaper clipping announcing her brother's birth, a feather from a wild turkey. Each object is a tether to a memory, a person, a part of a life she is about to leave forever. With a stoic resolve that borders on heartbreaking, she examines each one, and one by one, she throws almost all of them into the fire. She cannot afford the weight of memory. Her entire being, every ounce of her formidable strength, must be focused on the road ahead, on the singular, sacred mission of getting her family to California in one piece. This powerful story is a reminder of the timeless struggles people face for a better life. If you appreciate deep dives into literature that still resonates today, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next exploration. The loading of the truck is a frantic, chaotic puzzle. The family piles on, finding places among the bags and blankets, a human cargo clinging to a machine they can only pray will hold together. Grandpa Jode, the family's profane and cantankerous patriarch, suddenly refuses to go. He screams and thrashes, his roots in the Oklahoma soil so deep he cannot bear to be torn from them. He has to be drugged with sleeping medicine and loaded onto the truck like a sack of grain, a tragic, unwilling passenger on a journey that has already broken his spirit. They set out at dawn, a lurching, overloaded vessel pulling away from the only home they have ever known, joining a slow, sad river of other families just like them, all flowing west on the highway. The road takes its first toll before they even leave Oklahoma. At their very first stop for the night, Grandpa Jode has a stroke. It is violent and sudden, and he dies there in the dirt, his last garbled words about the land he was forced to leave. His death is a profound shock, the first tear in the fabric of the family. They have no money for a proper burial. They are forced to bury him themselves, on a hill overlooking the highway, wrapping his body in a blanket and leaving a note in a bottle explaining who he was so he would not be mistaken for a vagrant. It is a crude, desperate act of dignity, the first piece of their family sacrificed to the promise of California. The journey becomes a grueling ordeal. The Hudson breaks down constantly, a failed bearing, a blown tire, a leaking water hose, each is a potential catastrophe that could leave them stranded. But these moments of crisis also reveal the strange, unwritten laws of the road. When the Jodes are broken down, other migrant families stop, not to take advantage, but to help. Men who have nothing share their tools, their knowledge, and their time. A new kind of society is being formed in the roadside camps each night, a society of the dispossessed, bound by a shared destination and a common enemy of poverty and suspicion. They share food, music, and stories, creating temporary communities that are more supportive than the ones they left behind. It's here that Jim Casey's wandering philosophy begins to crystallize. Watching these families, he sees his one big soul in action. He realizes that holiness is not an individual state, but a collective one. Maybe all men got one big soul everybody's a part of, he muses. It's a radical faith in the sacredness of the group, a belief that becomes the spiritual core of the novel. This solidarity is forged in the face of growing hostility. As they travel further west, through the Texas Panhandle and into New Mexico and Arizona, the Jodes and other families like them are met with coldness and fear. Gas station attendants treat them with contempt. Store owners overcharge them. And the police, the supposed keepers of the peace, eye them with suspicion, eager to push them along, to make them someone else's problem. They are no longer seen as fellow countrymen down on their luck, but as an invading horde of Okies. They were branded with this single word to strip them of their humanity, a tactic of division that has never gone away. The word is a weapon, meant to mark them as dirty, ignorant, and less than human. The second death comes as they cross the blistering heat of the Mojave Desert. Grandma, who had been fading ever since Grandpa's death, finally lets go. She dies silently in the back of the truck, but Ma Joad, knowing they will be stopped and questioned at the agricultural inspection station at the California border, forces the family to press on. She lies beside her mother's body all night, a silent, grim sentinel, so that the guards will see a family sleeping and let them pass. They arrive in the promised land, not in triumph, but in grief and fear, smuggling the body of their matriarch across the state line, a final desperate act to keep the family moving forward. After 1,500 miles of dust and hope, the first sight of California is a valley of impossible green, a true paradise. But the dream shatters in an instant. The paradise they were promised has fences, armed guards, and a hatred for the poor that is as scorching as the Oklahoma Sunday. Their first stop is a Hooverville, a makeshift shanty town on the banks of a river. It is a scene of utter squalor and despair. Families live in tents made of burlap sacks, in shelters built from cardboard and scrap metal. Children with the distended bellies of malnutrition play listlessly in the filth. The air hangs heavy with the smell of waste and hopelessness. A man, hollow-eyed and defeated, tells them the cruel truth. The handbills were a lie. There might be 5,000 jobs, but the landowners printed 300,000 flyers, intentionally creating a surplus of desperate laborers they could exploit to the point of starvation. A man with a family to feed will pick fruit for 5 cents a box if the alternative is watching his children starve. The Jodes have not escaped a trap. They have simply entered a larger, greener one. Their journey through California becomes a series of camps and fleeting jobs, each one a lesson in exploitation. They find work picking peaches at a large ranch, but the wages are so low that after buying food from the overpriced company store, they end up with less money than they started with. The entire system is designed to keep them in a state of perpetual debt and dependence. It is here that the simmering anger of the people begins to boil over. When the company announces another wage cut, the workers attempt to organize a strike. The response from the landowners is immediate and brutal. They bring in police and armed thugs to break the picket lines, creating a tense, violent standoff. This is the moment the story reaches its crucial turning point. Jim Casey, who has been using his preacher's charisma to rally the men, is at the heart of the strike. One night, Tom Joad, curious about the commotion, goes to investigate. He finds Casey hiding by a stream, cornered by 2 deputized strikebreakers. Casey confronts them peacefully, trying to explain their cause, but they see only an agitator. One of them raises a new pick handle and brings it down on Casey's head, crushing his skull. His final words, echoing a biblical sentiment, are, "You fellas don't know what you're doing." In a blind, animal rage, Tom snatches the pick handle from the man and kills him with a single blow, before another guard smashes his cheekbone and he escapes into the darkness. Casey's death is a martyrdom. He dies for his belief in the people, and in that moment, the torch is passed. Tom Joad, the man who only wanted to be left alone, is now a fugitive murderer, but he has been transformed. He has inherited Casey's mission. What do you think this moment represents for Tom's journey? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The family flees, now hiding a wanted man, the grapes of wrath, as Steinbeck writes, filling and growing heavy in the souls of the people. The world doesn't end in fire, but in water. The seasons turn, the fruit harvest ends, and the family finds temporary work, picking cotton. But then the winter rains come, relentless and unforgiving. The downpour turns the flatlands into a sea of mud and misery. The creek beside the boxcar they now call home swells and overflows, the rising water a symbol of the overwhelming forces washing their lives away. The flood is the final crushing blow, destroying not just their meager camp, but the last vestiges of their original family structure. It is here, in the damp misery of the boxcar, with the water seeping in, that Tom Joad, now a constant danger to his family, must say goodbye. In a dark, secret conversation with his mother, he delivers one of the most famous speeches in American literature. Ma fears she will never see him again, her heart breaking at the thought of losing another piece of her family. But Tom, now a full convert to Casey's philosophy, explains that he will never truly be gone. He will be a part of the great human spirit, present wherever there is a fight for justice and dignity. Wherever there's a fight so hungry people can eat, I'll be there, he vows. Wherever there's a cop beating up a guy, I'll be there. I'll be in the way, guys yell when they're mad, and I'll be in the way. Kids laugh when they're hungry and they know supper's ready. He has become more than a man. He is an idea, a ghost of righteous anger and collective hope, promising to carry on Casey's work in the shadows. He slips away into the night, leaving his family forever. With Tom gone, the family unit dissolves. Connie, Rose of Sharon's husband, had abandoned them long ago, unable to handle the harsh reality of their new life. Now, in the flooded boxcar, Rose of Sharon goes into labor. The birth is harrowing, a desperate struggle in the midst of chaos, and the baby is stillborn, a tiny, silent casualty of their journey, a symbol of a future that cannot take root in this poisoned land. The dream of a California life is now completely dead. Uncle John is tasked with burying the infant, but instead, in a gesture of profound, sorrowful protest, he places the tiny body in an apple crate and sends it down the raging river, a silent, tragic messenger to the world of what has been done to his people. These powerful moments from literature remind us of stories that deserve to be heard. If you feel this story is important, please consider sharing this video with someone who would appreciate it. The remaining family members, Ma, Pa, Uncle John, Rose of Sharon, and the two youngest children, are forced to abandon the boxcar, wading through the floodwaters to find higher ground. They are broken, starving, and have lost everything: their home, their family members, their future. The journey has ended in absolute desolation. They find refuge in an old, dry barn. Inside, they discover a boy and his father. The father is gaunt, his eyes wild with fever. He is starving to death, unable to keep down solid food. He will be dead in minutes. In this moment, faced with the ultimate despair, the story delivers its final, unforgettable act. Ma Joad looks at her daughter, Rose of Sharon, who has lost her baby, her husband, and her future, whose breasts are full of milk for a child that will never drink. A silent understanding passes between them. The Joad's journey ended in that flooded barn, with a final shocking act of grace that asks the ultimate question. When society fails and all hope is lost, what do we truly owe each other? If you found this exploration of a classic novel valuable, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for more deep dives into great literature. Thank you for watching.